Do you know what the burden of proof is in family court? Everybody knows what it is. In criminal court, what I mean is when a jury has to decide on whether somebody's guilty or not, how do they have to find them to be guilty? They have to know that they did it beyond what? The prosecutor has to prove that they're guilty beyond what? Any reasonable doubt. So that means they have to have no doubt whatsoever. And they put the word reasonable in there because you can't say, this guy can't be a rapist because he's blue-eyed, blonde-haired, and really handsome. That's an unreasonable doubt. That's a ridiculous doubt. So they have to put the word reasonable in there, but it pretty much means without any kind of doubt. So that's the highest burden of proof, or the highest standard of proof. In family court, you have the lowest standard, or in civil court, generally, you have the lowest standard. It's called preponderance of evidence. Some people call it the 5149 burden because it's like a seesaw. If you believe this side a little bit more, then they win. It's technically more likely than not. It's more likely than not that the father abused the mother, so we're going to give her a protection order. It's more likely than not that the mother is the better parent, so we'll give her the kids. It's more likely than not that the father is lying and the mother is telling the truth. And they only have to, more likely means more than the other. And more can just be 5149. Now, somebody can overwhelmingly disprove somebody's stuff and then you still win, but the minimum is preponderance evidence. What does that even mean? It kind of doesn't really matter because a judge can do whatever they do, and it's not this one up here beyond a reasonable doubt by a jury of your peers where you get assigned an attorney in criminal court. Then there's a middle burden of proof called clear, cogent, and convincing evidence. That means what it supposedly sounds like. This evidence is more clear, cogent, and it convinces me. It's not just, well, it sounds like it's more likely than not that the mom's telling the truth. You're like, I'm totally convinced that he hit her and beat her. I'm not sure beyond any doubt, because in the back of my mind, she let him have the kids right before she said it was abusive. So maybe she's lying. But it's really clear, cogent, and convincing to me right now. But again, what does this even mean? It's just words. There's a lot of father's rights groups out there. If you look up Ohio family rights on Facebook, I just saw a post from Ray Lautenschlager there. He says if we just get the burden of proof up to clear, cogent, and convincing, then it'll be harder for mothers to prove stuff. He's so unintelligent, it's ridiculous. This guy's been saying that for 15 years. Now, he's really knowledgeable, and he actually doesn't like me. But even though he doesn't like me, I don't have no big ego in this. I've referred people to him when I found people in Ohio. And I tell them, don't tell him that I referred you, but go to him and just go look at his page and say, I saw your page. Because I want people to be informed, and he's really knowledgeable. But his ego is caught up in, if we just get this law passed, clear, cogent, and convincing, he's convinced that more dads will win. That's if you believe the judges will do the right thing. The judges are already making bad decisions. The judges are already ruling in favor of mothers because they're biased for the mothers. Just like the Jim Crow South courts would find black people guilty of stuff they were innocent of because they had hatred or prejudice toward black people. And they would do whatever they want. Juries would convict somebody beyond a reasonable doubt because the jury might be all white, like in the movie A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel Jackson. The jury of his peers was all white. And some of them were racist, and they're convincing everybody else to, find him guilty. It ended up being a different outcome, but you guys hopefully get my point. If the whole jury is prejudiced against somebody, they'll just vote that they're guilty and pretend it was beyond a reasonable doubt. See, people lie. And so Ray Lautenschlager at Ohio Family Rights, he thinks that, if we just change the rules, then everything will be better. The rules right now say if you get a protection order, there has to be actual domestic violence or actual child abuse or actual coercive control. And women go in there and just say it, and then the judge believes them with no evidence. So if we move the burden of proof from preponderance of evidence up to clear, cogent, and convincing evidence, all the judge has to do is say, I find by clear, cogent, and convincing evidence that the father is abusive, so he's on supervised visits until he gets a mental health evaluation and domestic violence treatment. Right now, they're already doing it. I find by preponderance of evidence that the father is abusive, so he has to do this and that. If they change the standard, all the judges will say is, I believe by preponderance, by clear, cogent, and convincing evidence. People are so dumb that they think if we change the words a little bit, that'll change the hearts of the judge. My gender is so lost. Everybody's so lazy. Everybody wants somebody else to do it. You know that I just posted about this page, Life Lesson 770. And they post Randy from Present Father all the time. And 90% of the people, except the rare occasions where there's a dad who got custody, 90% of the people are like, yeah, the system sucks. Yeah, the system sucks. Nobody even thinks about doing anything different. Like I went for full custody of my daughter. And now I started off going for 50-50 because I did the fair thing or whatever. But I wore the mother down and beat her down until she surrendered. I engaged in the war of attrition. That's the way dads win. And nobody wants to do that. Because dads are a bunch of kitty cats. The P word for kitty cats. But knowing the burdens of evidence, if you go into court and you are trying to say the mother's abusive or she's an alienator, then you could go into court and say, Your Honor, this is a preponderance of evidence court. I don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the mother's an alienator. You just have to believe that it's more likely than not that she's alienating. And alienation is a common thing. Look at this exhibit I have that talks about alienation. Look at this exhibit that talks about women lying about domestic violence in order to get leverage. Look at all my quotes from all these lawyers and judges. Your own peers, Your Honor, say that women come to court and lie. And if she's lying to try and put me in jail or get a restraining order or withhold the kids, then she's an alienator. And that I have scientific evidence that says alienation is just as traumatic as physical and sexual abuse. So you have an overwhelming amount of evidence that this lady is lying and she's trying to manipulate the system and destroy the children and use the children as leverage, which is a form of child abuse. And that's so traumatic, you should want to rescue the children. All you need is preponderance evidence. I got overwhelming. It's practically clear, cogent, and convincing. It's almost beyond a reasonable doubt that this is what she's doing. See, you could play the burden of proof or evidence game too. But see, none of you even know that because none of you do any research and none of you even listen to me half the time. I've done in-depth videos on my YouTube channel where I bring up stuff like this. But stuff goes through one ear out the other. I have people in the comments saying, yeah, that's right, or yeah, that sucks, or here's how I lost, here's my loser story. I went to court and I lost and the judge destroyed me. Or I went to court and my attorney won't do that. And my attorney did this and that, or the mother accused me of that. Why are you coming onto my page just to tell me your loser story? You came across my page, someone who helps guys win in court, and all you want to do is tell how you lost. I get people DMing me all the time. What about this, and what about that, and what about this? And you think I can give you a one-sentence answer when you need hours of consultation if you want to master this stuff. I just had a guy who's been calling me off and on for a decade. He has a couple babies' moms, and he goes in and out of court and keeps getting screwed. And he'll have an attorney, or he'll try and do it himself, and he'll get screwed, and he'll call me way afterward or at the end. And he's been doing it for 10 years. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to help you anymore because it's a waste of time. You call now. See, if I was a hustler, I would say, "Oh, pay me this, and I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you that," and he'll keep coming back. I don't want to help somebody who's not serious. So I said, Do you even care about your kids? Because if you did, you would call me first because you know I know what I'm talking about. I'm your last resort all the time. Why don't you get ready for a hearing and do it right? And after we had that talk, then the guy started learning how to look up case law. And now he's addicted to looking up case law. He's like, this is like going through the matrix. Like these people aren't even following the law. And he had a great showing, and he had his first hearing after finally getting serious. And he was objecting left and right to the mother's attorney. He's like, that dude is stupid. He doesn't even know what he's doing. And now he's schooling them. Because he finally decided to actually take what I'm telling him and doing it. If you're on my page and you're not doing what I'm talking about or getting help, you're not fighting.